Hi, welcome to Between the Lines. This is Ronda Caudill, and I have Michelle Cornwell-Jordan today with us. We're here to
Hi.
talk with you about writing inspirations.
All right. And I love this because, we all are inspired by something. I say that, the muse is always working. Well, I say that, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way. But what are some of the things that inspires you, Rhonda, when you're in the
You
mood?
know what? It's really funny because a lot of ideas I get come from dreams. Little, just a little segment of a dream, and yeah, I can write a whole story around that. Actually, I've been working on a project for about 8, 10 years, something like that. It's called The Old Victorian, and I would just love to get it finished. But it actually started. It's about three-quarters of the way done, but it started as just a dream. I mean, the dream was just like a little scene, and that's how it started. And it ended up. I wrote down the little segment of dream that I had, because I mean, it couldn't have been more than like 5 minutes worth of dreaming. And I wrote it all down in the middle of the night. I got up the next morning. I thought, hey, I think I can make a book out of this. So yeah, I get a lot of inspiration from dreams. Um, Television shows, music, movies, other books.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm also a people watcher. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I don't know what it is, if I'm in traffic and, I'm beside someone and, my mind goes to, and there's just something a little bit different or quirky about that person, or they do something a little odd. My mind goes on this entirely different thread. Oh my gosh, there's some type of espionage or, secret spy or I don't know. But, I do get a lot from people watching. My favorite place is always, well, it used to be the airport. Now you can't sit back there to watch the planes take off. But um, I would say people watching, I would say music, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. It is just so very difficult for me. Even if I have the scene in mind, I mean, I know what I'm going to say. It's hard for me to start before I have the correct music. I will spend about an hour or more, trying to find the right music, and then that ushers me into that world. So I would say music is very important to me. You write books, movies. I would say the same thing, but I think the biggest for me really is people watching.
I
People
can
are so
I can
funny.
so see that. I can see that because I've seen some strange people do some
People are so
strange things,
they
and
are
you
just
can just imagine, ooh, they're doing this because
because
whatever.
I will never forget. This had to happen about 5 or 10 or even more years ago. And it was just like a brief second. I was on the highway. I can't even remember what city I was in because we were in the Air Force when we moved. But I was driving, and then I would just remember this vehicle coming. You know how they cut in front of you, and
Yeah,
before you can have the typical road rage, like ah, what? I I didn't even have that reaction because it seemed as if it was fleeing. Almost as if it was one of the movie scenes because right they got in front of me and it was racing. I kid you not, everyone. It was like a black unidentified van came and got right and was following that person. And to this day, I always wonder. I mean, they were like fast. There was a chase, and I've never seen a chase in real life. And I always wonder what in the world that may have been. What could I have been privy to? So
that sounds like a book, Michelle.
that is. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, my books always has these almost clueless people falling into things. That would just be that would be my luck to see something, like that. But that's always stay with me. But yeah, I've seen some really strange thing. I think that was the one that really catches my attention. But I think people, places, locations, you know, they inspire things. And my torment actually was inspired when we went to New Orleans. I think it was the second time I went down there a few years ago, and we stayed in the Monte de Leon. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, guys. I'm just saying it fast, so you would think that I said it right.
Sounded good to me, Michelle.
was a nice hotel. Of course, everything in New Orleans is haunted, or has the rumor of being so. But it was just something about this hotel because it was just so elegant. It was so it was just for my husband's birthday. That was the reason we were there. That was the only. But it was just so gorgeous, and it was just so a throwback. It was a throwback to more of the 20s to me. It wasn't just a elegant, hotel you would see, just today. It was just everything from the gilded edges, the gold, the different pastels, the chandeliers, everything. The fixtures were golden. It was gorgeous. And then, of course, it had this ghost story that I think it was the seventh floor was supposedly haunted. And then I heard about the different stories and the clock. The grandfather clock that was in the lobby was supposedly haunted, and I've heard people say they've seen things, and there have been different times in my life I thought I would get a glimpse or something, but it wasn't until that stay, and I haven't really told the story much, but that stay that I really thought I experienced something because it was one of the stories was about, and I can't remember the full stories, but it was about a gentleman, older gentleman. And he was in search. I think it was in search. It was either his child or his wife. I can't remember, but they gave the description. Well, no, they didn't. They didn't give a description, but it was just I knew it was supposed to be a man. And then there was one about a child that was lost that had died in the hotel and things like that. Anyway, that evening, my husband and I went out. My daughter and I was in the room, and I tell you, so help me. Because we wanted to stay on the seventh floor. If it's haunted, we wanted to stay there. So we were there, terrified the entire time, freaking out about every little sound, but so excited to be there. It was just really, really, it was crazy. But we thought we heard a knock, and I thought it was my husband just, messing with us. But when we heard a knock, and I went to the door and I opened it because we weren't expecting anyone. We didn't know anybody. There was no one down the halls. There was no other guests, and we never saw any guests when we went in. But we closed the door, and we heard it again. I opened it. There was nothing, and I'm telling you, within seconds. So it's not like they could just flee. And I thought, okay. And then at one point, I don't know if there was a little edge where you could see if somebody, I told you it was an older hotel, and it was like shoes, or you could kind of see when there's a shadow so someone is standing there. The third time it happened, there was a shadow. And I was thinking, Brianna, my daughter's name is Brianna. And then I said, okay, I did it again. Nobody there. I called my husband on the phone. Well, stop, joking. He's like, what are you talking about? And I could hear the background. He was like off on Bourbon Street or something. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that was the first incident in that same night. Of course my daughters and I were like, okay. And then that night, guys, I remember I was asleep. And I don't know if you all had a sensation when you felt like you're waking up. You felt like you're awake, but I think you're asleep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Awake, but you're asleep.
Right. You can't move.
You can't move. That's it.
Your eyes are open, but you cannot move.
Yes. And that's how it was. And I was lying there, and my daughter, she was asleep, and everybody was asleep, and there was nothing. And I remember, and I felt like I was awake. I truly felt like I was awake, and I saw a person standing by the side of my bed. So I thought it was, my husband or something like that. Maybe I just fallen asleep, but I could hear them sleep in the, behind me, so that it wasn't. And I thought it was a person, but it was a little bit strange. It was a little cloudy. And the person had on, I don't know if you ever seen these pictures. Guys, have you ever seen the pictures where you saw the farm lady and the other man, and they have that kind of frown or whatever, and they have the picture, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's that white shirt and that white jacket. That's what the person had. So I knew it was a male. He had the white and that. It was just standing there. Why I didn't scream, why I didn't feel the need to scream hysterically because someone's in the room. But it was like part of my mind was thinking, okay, either you're dreaming or that person's really not there. But whatever it was, I was there for a while. And then the next thing I know, I woke up the next morning. And so that was my experience in that hotel. And that was why I wrote the story I did, tormenting about it was a man that was, stayed in the hotel. He was frozen in time, and it was, all of that. I added the supernatural, but that was it. And that's the closest I've ever had to a dream, if it was a dream.
I love that story, though. I love New Orleans, and I love that story.
Yes.
It was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Oh, thank you. And I think it was because that stay was so vivid to me.
Right.
It's rare that I can retain, because normally when I dream, I wake up, I forget. And even when I'm at a, place I really love, unless I have a picture, it kind of fades after a while. But for some reason, that hotel and it has stayed so vibrant. And I was able to write it, months later, and I was able to describe it. And I really believe it has something to do with that particular experience. So was it haunted? Is it haunted? Did I have an experience? I've never had one like that before.
I think you did. That story reminds me of The Shining. Stephen King wrote The Shining while he was staying at the Stanley Inn, which is haunted. So.
Yes. Where was that particular? Do we know? Because that was a real hotel, wasn't it? I mean,
Stanley Inn. Yes, it's in Colorado, and I am going. One day, I am going.
It is humongous.
Yes, it is. But it's closed half of the year, just like in his novel. It closes down part of the year because it's so snowy and treacherous that they can't get clients in and out. So it closes for part of the year.
So it really is a working establishment. They are still having guests and all that. That's incredible. And
so I wonder how much of that story was story and how much
he experienced. You know, seriously. I mean, seriously, guys. We think these are. You never know. I do know that New Orleans has many of the top haunted places. So I think I'm like New Orleans crazy now. I mean, it's just, I love it simply because of its history. So I think that's one of the biggest, if I have to name a place that inspires me, that would be it. As far as a city, just really, also like South Carolina. I don't know if anyone's ever been to South Carolina, but it has that, what is that story? It was a movie, Beautiful Creatures.
I love that. The book is so good. The movie's great, but the book is so much more in depth.
It is. I read all of it. Both of them are, is it more than one? Because I know I read
4 now. 4 or 5. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I need to catch up because I think I read about 2 or 3.
I've got the first 2 read. I've got all of them. I've only read the first 2 because I guess that could be on my TBR list.
There you go.
I do have a list. It's on the bookshelf.
and I love that. And I think that would be more of a Southern Gothic.
Yeah.
So I would say that is an inspiration for me. That Southern Gothic type. And you don't find that much anymore. I mean, you'll see fragments of that Southern Gothic genre. You'll see like fragments in different things, usually categorized as something else probably. But I remember when I was coming up, when I was like in the 80s or whatever, I'm dating myself, guys, in the 80s, that was a pretty decent, that was a strong genre at that time because of V.C. Andrews. Who remembers, what was it, In the Attic, the Attic books?
What's it? It's not Flowers in the Attic.
Flowers in the Attic.
Yes.
And that was, so if you are wondering what a Southern Gothic is, it's like that. It's usually some, strange family in a crumbling mansion, with some type of supernatural element in it. And so, of course, I was very inspired by that, because my influences coming up were like Barbara Cartland and Jude Devereaux and all of those with the Gothic. Anytime you see a lady running from one of the big houses with her hair flowing and in the air.
It's like, what are they running from?
Well, now I'm like, I love supernatural. I'm like, you need the Winchesters and take care of that whole situation.
Yeah, definitely.
Take care of that whole.
Don't forget Castile.
Love him. So, a lot of that would be just knocked out the box. But who are some of the authors that influenced you?
You know what? Growing up, I really only read a lot of Poe, and to be honest, I liked Shakespeare.
Really?
I did. I did. It was really hard to read, and it was very difficult, But I really, especially Macbeth, that was one of my favorites. But
Oh,
yeah, and then I discovered H.P. Lovecraft,
yes.
which he was just phenomenal. But I really the influences that the writers have influenced me most are today's writers. Alison Noel with her Ever series, and then PC Cast.
Yes, I love PC Cast.
Love that series. The House of Night series.
Yes, I love that series.
Yeah, but I also read a couple others that she did was Elfmaid's Choice and Bridget's Quest, which was really good.
That's a goddess. Is it about a goddess?
No, that's not the Goddess series. This was just two books.
Okay.
It was just two books that she wrote. But I haven't read any of the Goddess series. I would like to read those, but they're there. My CBR list is just growing.
Right there. See, guys, that was another show, but see, it's growing right in front of us.
Yeah. And then Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll, the beautiful creatures. Melissa De La Cruz with the Blue Blood series.
I love that.
I guess, yeah. I guess I've been mostly influenced what I write by more recent authors and young adult authors. I love young adult books. They take me back. They make me feel young.
And I do. And I loved them when I was a teenager, and I've always loved them. And I think it's because they're so full of possibilities. There are the books. Well, there are adult books, with the magic and the mayhem and all of that, but it has also those adult problems. It's a little bit heavier. And I do enjoy the magic of the young adult novels and the teen novels. And I don't know if I read an article but I've heard that is the toughest to write for the young adult, because that is just that particular audience is very vocal and they know what they want, how they want it. And also there's such a wide girth, right. It can go anywhere from 13 to 24, 24, 25. It meshes with adult.
Or almost 50.
Almost 50. There you go. That's me. Who are we kidding? That's
what I found very inspiring was Denise's book.
Yes.
Dragon
Horse.
Yes, Dragon Horse. Or no, wasn't Dragon Horse. Is it Dragon Horse? The one with the Candlelight, yeah.
Candlelight and cover-ups. Yes.
Yes, it is. It's an older, a mature woman who is still, she's still finding love and she's still finding her way. She's still got it going on. And
yes,
it felt promising to me.
And you're right. You're absolutely right that I do enjoy the fact that was told from a mature viewpoint, but there's still the same elements there,
Right.
And you're right, with me knocking on their door, I like to know, there's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. So yeah, and see, guys, other authors inspire us and all of that. But do you ever, when you're writing, just sit down to write because of the genre, or do you happen to write and it fits into a genre? Does that make sense?
Whatever it is comes, because most of it's paranormal romance type, but then I've got the kids' fantasies. It's whatever comes. It's like, okay, where do I put this now? It's a finished piece of work. Where do I categorize it?
And I think I'm like that too. Do you think that makes it, because there's so many choices, and we all, and I do the exact same thing. I do the same things. It's pretty much all right for this and that. And the majority of the authors that I do read and have seen nowadays, they do jump. Do you think that's making it difficult for readers or not? Because I know, like when I was, in my teens, early 20s, whatever, a lot of the people like Stephen King's, they were horror, so that was like their brand, or they
Right.
were this. Do you think it's making it a little bit harder for readers to follow an author because it is varied? Because, or no?
I don't think so because readers are diverse.
Yes.
For the most, I don't know anybody that just reads horror or just reads romance. I mean, they might have a genre of choice that they read over something else, but I think they're diverse readers. So I think it's good to have a diverse, and you may not want to write, and I write under a slightly different name for the kids' books just to kind of separate because the fantasy books are G-rated, and then of course, we have a couple of other books that are on the extreme spectrum. So I have a totally different name for those books.
You're like secret identity.
Yes, that one is, and then then we've got the books in the middle. Are kind of they can be a little racy, and there may be some violence or whatever that are for more adults, but I think you can be very diverse and still keep your audience. And you may even collect, I think it helps bring in different audiences. Somebody that may not have read strictly romance, but hey, I'll read this sci-fi book this person wrote or this fantasy book this person wrote. Now, I really liked Stephanie Meyer's the Twilight series, but I just could not get into is it The Host?
The Host.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I just couldn't get into that.
The hard sci-fi. I think she called it sci-fi for those that don't like sci-fi or something like that. But you're right. I read it because oh my gosh, it's Stephanie Meyer's, and I love Twilight, and I liked it, but I had to pretty much work at it. You know what I mean? It was it was okay. It was okay, but so I see what you're saying, and I agree with you as far as having varied interests. I mean, readers have varied interests, so why not authors? And I think that was one of the problems that the authors back in the day did have, like Stephen King, because I'll never forget, I loved his Bag of Bones. And it was more of a love story.
Yes.
But it wasn't as well received as, of course, his horror and all of that. But I absolutely loved it. Mm-hmm. So it's harder for them to make that switch. And then of course, if they're at a certain level and they have a different name like Richard Bachman, you know who it is. And I never understand that. That's you. So Richard Bachman is Stephen King. And so
right.
And I think J.K. Rowling's tried that.
Yes.
She was under another name, but they knew who she was. And
I don't remember what the name was, but I
don't even remember the name. I just know J.K. Rowling wrote that book. And what's the book? It's the adult book. I can't remember the name of it, but
I can't.
So I think they did have that hurdle. And I remember speaking with another author, author Rachel Kane, and she said the same thing. What she does is she makes herself the brand. And so if you make the person the brand, then you know that whatever awesome books, all the books that author Ronda Caudill writes are excellent. I'm enjoying it. Then it doesn't matter what's the genre. You're going to have a good story. So I think that's.
James Patterson is another good example of diversity. He has started doing the wizard. There was like a wizard or a witch series, a young adult supernatural type.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that man, he is astounding to me. Because he was, one of the staples when you think about, King and all of those.
Mystery thriller, whatever,
James Patterson is, but you're right. He writes romance. He writes paranormal, teen, kid, adult, and, and does it well. He partners, he co-writes. And I know that he received some flack. I've read stories about, with the partnering, but I say why not if it's a great story.
Absolutely. this gives the partner person, obviously that author isn't as well known, but they're authored with James Patterson. Yes. All these doors are open for these people. So I say go for it.
I say go for it. I don't understand. And he was one of the first, I think, major, I don't know if it was Stephen King, but I think it was James Patterson. He was one of the first major authors that, delved into the ebooks and, did the online publishing and, had some of his books transferred to the ebooks. And now, because I'm not saying they haven't, but I haven't really heard of any of the major ones. I'm talking about novellas, but now he has like a novella series, little, I think they're little tidbits, or he calls it a different name, but they're novellas. Mm-hmm. And so he embraces change. And I think if that's what authors, if they're going to remain, embrace that change.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's authors or publishers, if it's musicians,
everybody, yes.
Whoever, they have got to change with the times, or they're going to be left in the dust.
Yes, so yes.
I totally agree. You have to embrace the change. Mm-hmm. Be a forerunner. Don't dig your heels in and say no.
I'm not going to do it.
No. Get to the front.
That's right. You get just kicked to the, because everything is changing at the speed of thought almost. Because I was just discussing with someone the other day. We were talking about different tools for authors. And guys, this is all under inspiration. I promise you. Because this is the way authors' mind think. Everything is connected somehow.
ADD.
Every one of us. And we were talking about the writer tools, and we're talking about websites, and how the best, and how best to get the projects out there, regardless of what they are, screenplays, books, whatever. And we were talking about websites, and then it was brought up. A millennial said, and I never knew that these titles meant anything, but they were saying, if they have to pull out their computer to go on it to do anything, they're just not going to do it. If they can't just whip out their phone and stream it.
Mm-hmm. My daughter and my youngest brother are millennials, and it's that phone. They live with that phone. We can't do it on our phone. Well, we'll put it off till later, and later never comes.
That is my daughter. Oh my goodness, because she's on that, I guess, that younger end. She's 18, so I guess, the millennials stretch.
Yes, my youngest one is on that lower end too.
End, and I'm telling you, Rhonda, if she can't do it on the phone. Now, this child, everyone, has a laptop, the notebook, the iPad, the Kindle, the phone, everything. She will not even touch anything else. It's just the phone. If it cannot be looked up on this phone, it's not going to work for her. So,
well, and you can print from your phone.
I got to learn.
To the printer from your phone. Why do you need a computer anymore?
I know. You can do everything from your phone, but sometimes I get call because I'm like, my phone's tied up right now. I actually had to do that. My cell was tied up. I had to find a land phone because I'm like, my cell tied up. That was ridiculous, but but
a land phone? What's that?
I know. Oh my gosh. One time, guys, I was out and my cell phone, the battery died or whatever, and I actually was trying to find a payphone. They do not exist.
No, they don't.
They do not.
You cannot
I had to go into a bank to borrow their phone.
And you probably ended up using someone's cell phone rather than your phone.
I'm thinking, that is so crazy. So I said all that to say, that's inspiration. The change of times, how we communicate. And that's story fodder right there. Because things are so interconnected, I really feel like I've known you for years and we've never met.
I know. And we need to change that. You and Denise and I, we still need to take that trip to New Orleans.
We need to go to New Orleans, people. We've been talking about it. Denise, if you're looking at this, or, really, we need to make that happen.
We need to start planning.
But yes.
Right. Yeah, the connections you make with people, and it's really wonderful because 10 years ago, you couldn't have had these type of connections
No.
with people you've never met. But like you said, I feel like I've known you for 20 years. And
And
you
we
did 5, maybe.
maybe 5. But the point is, even in that, it wasn't a face to face. It
Right.
was this, but you can, and, I've heard people say, well, the fake, oh, those friendships aren't real. I do believe they are real.
They are.
I do believe. I mean, because what constitutes friendships, the give and take. I've seen people on Facebook, they give and take, they support each other, they help one another through, any trials, or, happy times, good times, bad times, cheer for them,
Right.
and now we're able to type and, see people face to face. I believe they are friendships. But I see that also as writing inspiration, because now we, as writers, as readers, think of how we want to have our content. If millennials who is taking over, don't want to pull out a website, or a computer, then we need streaming. So do our books need to come by via apps? Or and if you're out there and you don't know what an app is, like I had to learn recently. I knew it, but you're gonna have to learn. I mean, seriously, it's just a matter of staying there, staying in the know, and I'm so excited. I have my aunt, one of my favorite aunts. She's in her 60s or whatnot, and she just got her iPad, and she's never been on Facebook.
Oh, how
And
funny.
now, but she wanted to stay communicating, and she's fallen. I saw her at the beginning like a few things, but now 1 o'clock in the morning, I'll see her online. You can tell you liking things. I'm like, what is she doing online? But that's a matter of, and that makes people's quality of life better, because they feel connected, and that's what
It does, and this is great for people like who are homebound. They still have a social life, even though they may not ever,
go out or whatever. Yeah. So all of this is inspiration, and I think it's so funny. I remember seeing The Net when it was in theaters, guys. It was this movie about, I think her name was Sandra Bullock, and everything she did was via computer, and order everything online. And it was so weird to me at that time, because everything she did was via the computer. I mean, she ordered her groceries, everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so surreal. And now it's,
and now it's what you do.
so I think all of that is inspiration. But I like
And
what you said. Go ahead.
you were talking about getting your books or your stories out there in different manners, but you're doing webisodes, correct?
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
I mean, that's a wonderful way.
It is very different, and the local videographer or cinematographer, or filmmaker, or the person we're working with, director, producer, he was saying that webisodes now is has really taken away from commercials, because he does a lot of contracted work for businesses like NBC, and there's the Fort Worth, guys, Fort Worth museum and things like that, and just different things, and people are going towards webisodes, because that's a great way to give snippets of your stories, of how you see it, and I thought that was really cool, and it's just fun, because every author, I've seen it, and if they say they didn't do it, tisk tisk, they know at some point in time they have made the dream list of who they want to play their character,
Hey, yes.
or this, and we all dream of that. And now, I mean, it's not a major movie deal, but it is fun, because you can see your characters, as well as the audience can see your characters. But that really takes the person to learn a new thing and learn how to write script versus novel,
Right.
and that is completely different.
Yes. And I am about to find that out.
You're doing it.
Well, no, not webisodes. There is a local filmmaker. He does B flicks, or he calls them C flicks, because they're so that he's really good. I met him through a couple of mutual friends, and it was like several people knew him that I had met, and they're like, "Hey, you need to meet this guy." So it was, I guess, it was meant to be that we met because everybody kept saying, "Hey, you need to meet this person," and they would tell him the same thing. So we ended up finally meeting. That he's going to take forbidden fruit, put a modern twist on it. It will be a modern day story, but the flashbacks will be forbidden fruit.
How
So
cool.
as he writes the script, he's sending chapters to me, or not chapters, I'm used to chapters, but
Things.
scenes to me to review and make sure that they're okay. But I think he actually sent a PM the other day, and we're going to start on that within the next month, I hope. But
That is so cool.
I'm really excited. So I need to talk to you some more about webisodes and do's
And
and don'ts
that
now.
is and you see, guys, I mean, you see the trends, I think getting the story out in any format that you are comfortable with, I think is okay. At one point, I believe there was a distinction: playwrights were playwrights, screenwriters, and then a novelist. But now the story form, they mesh, and you're right, it is completely different because I wrote the script and I showed it to the director, and I was like, well, is it okay? Because there wasn't a lot of detail. There was a lot of space, and I was concerned, and all the things you think about when you're writing a book. And basically, it was almost like, well, the actors are what's going to bring the interpretation. And
Right.
so I had to get used to that, thinking, oh, because it really it's what they do with it. If they can connect with it. So I mean that works. That was great.
Yeah, because the script is like just
The
bones.
bones. It's the
The
bones.
actors cut the meat and the flesh. They bring
Yeah,
it to life, but it's basically bones.
the
It's a
bones.
skeleton.
That's
Yeah.
right. And and if you're going to do that, I don't know. I think the way doing it in independent, like independent production, or the way you have a director, you're working with him, and he wants um, your feedback. I think that is the way to go. And I'm not saying that if Hollywood did knock on our door, that we wouldn't be like,
You think I'm gonna say no?
be like,
I say, take this bucket, do whatever you want to with it.
but I was gonna say that, I've heard people say that they take it and they, sometimes the author's over here, but hey, I'm good with that. Because you know what? You always have the option over here to also tell your stories and get your visions out too. So I think that is what's so great about today. There's really no reason not to get your vision out if you want it. So, and that inspires me. It inspires me to see what other authors are doing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of other authors um, are gonna, if they have the opportunity to move in that direction. And I think it's easier for independent authors to move in
Yeah.
that direction because they'll know independent filmmakers. They'll
Yes.
want to work together because the
Yes.
person I'm working with has a film. He's a partner who has a production company,
Cool.
but he's independent. He's not a big conglomeration. He's not a big corporation. He's a small partner with a small independent company. And so we were talking, and one thing led to another. And so, and I think it's easier for an indie to work with another indie. And I
Yes.
think, yeah, because they both know, they'll both give and take. And it's not like the big corporation wants to just take. I want to do this. This is what we know. We know it's best. The other, that they'll listen to one another, because
Yes.
I'm definitely going to listen to what. See, I wanted the book to be the movie to be exactly like the book. He said, I don't think that's going to work too well. And I'm like, well, why not? So he goes into depth. I'm like, by the end of the conversation, I'm like, you know what? You're really right. So
Yeah, I did that. And I agree with you because that's the same with this. He has his company, but it's a small. He's an independent um, film producer. He has like a 4-man crew, so it's small, but they do work and they do you know um, great work. But when some of the actors, when they were practicing the script, and when he said, oh, guys, don't go verbatim by the the script, as far as the dialogue, I was like, but wait a minute, that's what they're saying. I had to get you.
That's my words.
That's
What do
my
you mean?
words. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, of course I have to say it verbatim.
Every word, the dot. No. But I was like, no, you're right. And when I saw what he did, I was like, as you did, yeah, you're right. So I think that is cool. And I think you're right. That is a big opportunity for so many indies. And the independent film industry is very respected.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think the indie author, I think we've come a long way since I came out in 2011. And we've come a long way. But we're still, making that way. But the independent filmmaker, they've got this cachet.
Mhm.
So I think that is awesome if that can be combined. There's so many projects and so many, and then that gives so many opportunities to so many other people.
It does.
The crew, the actors, that just gives so many opportunities to so many people. And so I think that's just a wonderful thing.
And I am lucky in the fact that so many of our scare actors at the haunted house are college student
Yes.
actors. So they are in theater already.
That's cool.
So, and he has worked with a couple of them. So we're very lucky because we have that to pull from. So
That is really cool. So do you have a tentative time when it will, um, you know, be done, the final product, or is it right now you're just starting and it's just a work in progress?
a work in progress. Right now, we're just starting.
That's fun.
Yes.
It is.
So I'm hoping we'll start shooting in the fall.
Will you have a hand in picking the actors?
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
kind of fun. That is so fun when you're like, yes,
Yes.
that's my whoever, my person.
See,
So
that's the good thing about indies working with indies because I do
yes,
have a say in the actors
yes,
and the script. But
yes.
then, he also has his input because he's the one actually filming. So,
So see, there you go. I say, guys, I think there is just so many ways to be inspired as a reader, just by the different varied options out there. I mean, you can stream the webisode, a film, a play. I've heard of people
right.
plays. I know that a musician, AOEDE, she is a singer, but she created a work. It's a, what do you call it? It's like an audio book, but but it's a musical, so it has her music in it. So she scripted it that way. And what I recently saw is won awards, and it's going to become a play, a production, stage production. So I mean, you've got a musician who she was indie musician, and it goes that way. Then she goes into the writing world. Then you have the writing, novelist going into the screenwriting, and then screenwriting going into novel. It's just everywhere.
Right.
So with all these varied options, there's so much to read, look, hear, see. And then as authors, we have so many, a plethora. I've always wanted to use that word. I did. I don't know if I'm saying it right at all. So Rhonda has a PhD, and I'm over here. She's probably cringing every time I speak.
Plethora. But
See?
yeah, and last episode was regal.
Regal.
You are full of wonderful words today.
I'm so excited. I said regal and plethora. But anyway, so anyway, we've got all that's happening, and so I'm excited. And I was thinking about Denise, and we were thinking about people, inspired by people. Denise Guru. She is also a wonderful person as far as ideas, and taking those opportunities and those chances and those, hey, why not, and going for it. She is a wonderful person that, because you mentioned forerunner. So
Uh-huh.
she is a
She's definitely.
she is a forerunner. And so I think, whether you're a reader in whatever, aspect of life you may be in, or a writer, surrounding yourselves by those. that are stretching and growing. I think it's a great thing.
Mm-hmm. It is. I think that is a very important thing.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you do in life, surround yourself by the people who will help you grow. The people, you know, all the people that inspire.
Yeah, that will help you go to the next level. I mean,
Yes.
you may see them and you're going, gosh, what? What? Or what are they doing now? But those are the people that will keep you growing. I think I heard Steve Jobs. Um, he once said, and I heard the article or heard this quote mentioned, and I'm hoping I'm saying it right, that he once said to his people in his boardroom or those that was in his company that they will not create the things or the items that people need, or it will be what they want or don't know that they need. In other words, a forerunner, a visionary. There's a difference
Right.
between a visionary and a visionary. They see the path before anyone else may see it,
Yes.
and I think that is the key. There are visionaries out there, and or you're a visionary and you've just may been a little bit scared because, oh my gosh, what will so and so think? They may think you rock. That's what they may think. Just go for it. I think life is very fragile, and I think it should be enjoyed. And I think if it's a dream, a thought, it comes in your mind and is doable and is not harmful or anything, I think you should go for it. That's my.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Go for it.
And there's not a age attached to it.
No,
No.
no.
Mm-mm. So that's my spiel. I feel like I have just talked and talked, and I'm sorry, guys. I do talk a lot. Uh, I think we're at the end. Um, is there anything that you would want the audience, the viewers, to know?
I just like, what we've been saying all along. If you're inspired, reach out and grab the bull by the horns. Just go with it. If you're inspired and you want to do something, you're motivated, just do it.
Do it. know, there you go. All right, and for everyone, Denise Guru. She is right now. They're moving and they're doing lots of things and in the homestead. So she is not able to be with us in this month of July. She will return to take the reins in August. So make sure that you pop in and to welcome her back. And Denise, we miss you. We're hoping you're having a great time. We didn't blow anything up and everything is still going.
So far.
So far. Can't make any promises. Anyway, everyone, thanks so much for hanging out with Ron and myself. This is really the first time today that Ron and I have just chatted and chatted, So I've had a really good time. And so anyway, everyone, thank you. And we just hope that you have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.